Hello and welcome to the Missed Q. I'm your host, Ricky, and whether you're on stage, backstage, or just love the stage, you're in the right place. Today's guest is Jessica Aston. Jessica is a costume designer at Grace Arts Live, has been since 2021. She took over as costume designer, head of the department in 2022. Also teaches fashion design at the high school, fashion design and operations through the CTE courses. Welcome, Jessica. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to talk about costuming and fashion and tech theater and all those magical moments.
Yeah, we're trying to kind of shine a spotlight on the departments in the theater that don't get recognized, the people that don't get the standing ovations that they deserve. And I've worked with you a lot, and I think you do deserve a standing ovation. So this is kind of our way to give it to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to jump into kind of your history. So you've done quite a few shows at Grace Arts Live, at least 10 to 15, let's say.
At least.
Just spitballing here. So
There's 12 a season, Ricky.
I know.
There's more. Gotcha.
I know.
Okay, it's fine.
So like 36, whatever. But your history of it, when did you start when did you fall in love with just fashion design? Was it a childhood thing, or was it later in life that you were inspired to do this?
Wonderful. I'd love to share with you my history. So I've always been involved in the performing arts, and definitely that goes hand in hand with fashion and with obviously costuming. Not everyone might know this about me, but I started off as a ballet dancer, and I danced at Pacific Northwest Ballet School, which is in Seattle, and that's a well-known ballet company. And I loved it. I loved ballet. It was a wonderful experience. But you know what my favorite part was? The performances.
Yeah.
Being on the stage, costumes, sets, everything, right?
So I love that. I love hearing that you know what it's like being on stage in front of the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Like you know both sides of the curtain,
Yes.
so to speak.
So I performed in the Nutcracker, which was Maurice Sendak. Do you know where the Wild Things Are, the children's book?
Yes.
He did all the sets for Pacific Northwest Ballet's Nutcracker
okay.
and all the costume designs. And so I did that for multiple years and got to be part of such an iconic part of Seattle's history. But, ballet is not for everyone. We'd love to say dance is for everyone, but ballet isn't for everyone. And that's just the truth, especially at that level. And I had to make a really hard decision when I was in high school about what I really wanted. And I hope the high school students who hear this, or those young people here, that it's okay to change your path. And it's exciting to get to try different things and have adventures in your life. And it can be super scary to change something that you've put so much energy, time, money into. But I switched to theater. And my high school theater director was phenomenal. We called her Mac. So a shout out to Elizabeth McMurray Hawk, who teaches still at Juanita High School.
Wow.
She was at the International Thespian Society with our folks that went there last year. So it was really cool to see our high school and my high school alumni there. But she still teaches. She made all of her students do tech theater as well as be on the stage. So I was in all kinds of different shows. I got to be one of the angels in Anything Goes.
So that's really cool. I love that. I love that you have both sides of that they taught you that, because it teaches you the appreciation. When my first couple of shows, Grace had me working backstage as well as all of the young people, and we did stagecraft class and built the sets and all that. So my first real backstage job was simply paging the curtain, but I'll never forget that. And it was like, I just think it's really important to get all the sides. So that's cool. I love that.
Yeah. And she really fostered that in us. And she discovered that I was really good at costuming. And so she gave me the costume department.
So you already had an eye for fashion.
I did.
By that point.
And I was in high school, and I just, that's a passion that I had another adult saw and said, we're going to help you develop this. And the way we're going to help you develop it is to give you opportunities. You have to have a chance. Someone has to believe in you to give you a chance to do it.
Yeah.
And she let me take the ball and run with it. I costumed Importance of Being Earnest, which is a really fun show to costume. And then she started giving me more and more shows to work on, and a team to work with. And I was just a high school student getting this awesome opportunity.
And you were managing a team of people
in
high school.
Yeah. So I decided to go to college for it. So I went to school and got a degree in theater arts and technical theater from BYU, Idaho.
See, and some people don't even know.
They don't.
They don't even know. A little respect, people.
I'm very passionate about technical theater. I still did shows. I still performed in shows in college. They still asked me to do a lot of performance.
Was it hard to let go of the performance, or did you kind of sink in nicely to the costume? You just kind of fell in love with it?
I'll be honest. I am fantastic at being organized and performing and giving it all on the stage. But you guys, I do not have a singing voice. It's not something I developed, nor do I have a natural talent for. So I'm not going to sing, but I could dance. And so I just slowly started seeing that there's other things that I'm really good at. So why not?
And still be connected to what
Yes.
you love.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because you've also taught dance at Arizona Coast Performing Arts.
I did for a short little period of time, which was really fun to be part of that. But after college, I went and worked for Disney. And I know you've had other guests here who are
Yes.
Disney alumni.
Gosh, I love this. I had no idea.
Right. I told you I have a little interesting of a history that not everyone knows. And I love that Grace Arts has drawn some of those. Of course, some of us Disney alumni would find each other at the same place in
Yeah,
our
of
small
course.
community.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
so there must be some Disney shows that pop up every once in a while for the youth productions and stuff. That do any of those kind of strike home for your Disney days, or?
I just love all things Disney. Not everyone has the best experience working for a corporation like that, but for me, it was really good for me. They were very good to me. I moved up through leadership really quickly because I started working for them right before. Well, I worked at Disney World and then at Disneyland. At Disney World, I did the college program. Again, another thing I really recommend for young people who love Disney, go do the college program. It's
What's that like?
amazing.
What is the college program?
So you go and work for Disney and you get college credit because you take these courses that Disney offers for you. And it's just I think it was like 2 credits, but 8
You could
credits.
literally be inspiring somebody right now
I hope so.
to do this.
It was so much fun. So you live on property and all the college students live in this apartment complex, this huge complex. And we take these classes at the Disney University. Yes, it's called the Disney University. And then we work. And they pay you, they used to pay you just below minimum wage because they're paying for your housing. So I didn't have rent. I just had to pay for food. And we just had the best time.
I love that.
We would meet at the Rock and Roller Coaster on Friday nights, our whole like group of friends. And we all worked in different lands or different areas, different parks even.
I love that.
And we'd meet at the Rock and Roller Coaster, and one of our friends ran it. And so
Tomorrowland and Frontierland hanging out.
yes! And we would just ride the roller coaster over and over and over again. Like we didn't have to wait in line. We would just
wow.
go to the front and they'd let us run it.
Oh, how fun.
It was the best time. Really good things. I learned so much about leadership. And then I went to Disneyland right as Disney's California Adventure was opening up and they were becoming a resort destination. And then I got to start working in training and I taught a class called the Disney Look and how to dress and what you could do with your hair and makeup.
Oh, wow. People don't understand the training that you have had, like not only just as a costume designer, but specifically in stuff like Disney and I can't even imagine what else.
It was an incredible experience for me. I learned a lot about the skills that I naturally had and things that I needed to develop and really grow as a person. And it was a really special time to do that at the Magical Kingdom, right? Like what a cool place to learn.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I decided for me, the best choice was that I wanted to raise a family. And that's really important to me. And I wanted to be home with my kids. And not everyone gets to have that opportunity. I have a very supportive partner. And Dan was very on board with me being home with the kids and supported me by working really hard to provide for us so I could do that. So I took a break from my career and some of those things I loved to do something I love even more, which was raise my kids.
That's great. That's amazing.
So that's how I got here.
Wow. Okay. So what brought you to Grace Arts Live initially as the costumer
Well,
for the costume department
yes.
at first?
So my kids started taking classes here. And Eli was the one who led that way for my kids that have all performed here. And he took that leap of faith to be part of an organization that he didn't know if theater was for him or not. And he loved it. Mm-hmm. So he started doing shows. His first show was Matilda. He was the brother.
Oh, wow.
Not very many lines, but he had
That's
fun.
right. I remember him in that role. Wow.
That was his first role. And then, of course, Emma and Julia started doing shows as well. And I had mentioned to the former costumer, if you need help, I'm here. I'm here taking my kids. I'm already here. And I have this skill set. I don't think anyone knew the extent of my education.
Yeah, because you probably literally said it just like that.
Yeah, yes. I'm not going to come in and be like, hey, guess what? I know how to do this.
Disney exec coming through. Just watch out. Let me handle this.
Okay, I was not that high up in the company.
No,
Let's make that clear. But the directors and Grace and the former costumers were all so kind to me and letting me come in and be part of this amazing community in the way that I could and however that was. And then things went really well. And I'm super grateful that I have the opportunity to do this because it really is my true love. I love costuming and love what it provides for me, for myself.
So how long have you lived in Havasu?
I've lived here for 18 years.
18 years. Okay. So you always known that Grace Arts was here?
Yes.
And around?
And I'd go to the shows.
Okay.
I was in the audience. I've seen you for many years.
But you finally got a chance to meet it. Let me get this straight. So was it because your kids got involved and then you got into the theater?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd go. I loved watching, Ricky. I
Yes.
loved being a patron.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there at the Performing Arts Center when you guys did shows there.
And you were just trying to offer a little help, and then next thing you know, we're just blessed by your amazing designs.
Thank you.
Nowadays,
I appreciate that.
So you've been since 2022.
Yes.
Is basically since you've been head of the costume department.
Yes.
At Grace Arts Live, followed by an amazing team, which includes your children and amazing volunteers.
Yes.
Grace Arts has amazing volunteers in every department,
Right.
and yours is no exception. What was the first show at Grace Arts Live that you took on yourself, and were you a little nervous for it?
Yes, I was. To answer the second part first, I was very nervous about taking on a show entirely myself. There's so much that goes into costuming a show, and I couldn't even explain it all on a podcast sitting here. It would take way too long.
I want to do it like a documentary
Right.
on kind of how a Grace Arts Live show or a community show is put on.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
And represent the different aspects of it like that, because people don't understand that you're sitting there with a she literally came with a notepad of the current show you're working on. It's just funny. You never stop.
No.
But that's good. That's why you're as good as you are.
Well,
So.
thank you. The first show I did was Guys and Dolls and Junior. And that was such a perfect show for me to start off with. Mm-hmm. And Lauren was directing it. And
Very classic look to that.
yes, and very specific.
Yeah. But also colorful and fun. It's kind of like an animated version of how the 1920s were.
Yes, exactly. And so it was a really fun to study the time period, to decide, are you going to put it in the 1920s, the 1930s, or even some people do it in the 1940s?
Yeah.
Where are we going to land on this? And then to collaborate with the whole team meaning the directors. I even collaborate with, other tech as how does this work? What is the process of putting a show on, and how do I fit into that? And everyone welcomed me and were excited for me to be part of it. It was a fun show to be part of because the music's fun, the costumes are fun, And it was a junior, so
Yeah.
it was kind of a soft way to start off with. Kids are a little more forgiving and very welcoming, especially these kids. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Grace Arts kids are the best. They are so, it's just so loving, so welcome, so accommodating.
I think they're pretty professional across the board.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
they come in with the attitude of they know what their job is and they get it done, and not only that, but they do it well.
Yeah.
You know, so we got a lot of talented kids.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. I kind of wrote down some shows that I thought were significant, that I know you've costumed, that I thought were
Okay.
very elaborate costumes. But I want to hear, like, what's your favorite style? Do you have a certain style? Do you have it? Are there any particular kind of shows that you get like, oh, I get to do this time period? Or do you like, okay, so do you like more modern or period shows?
I think I prefer to costume period shows, but I'm gonna give you a little side note on this. A lot of it has to do with all the dynamics that go into it. Who is casted is a big part of that. Who do I
Okay.
get to work with in that show? How is the director doing that show? How are they? It's their artistic vision,
Right.
and I get to be part of that. But I have to see their same vision.
And you're a large part of that too. The costumes are an extremely important piece.
It's very visual.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to understand that vision. So I would say a period piece with the right things in place. I've done quite a few modern pieces as well. And there is fun that comes
Right.
with that.
Like In the Heights.
Yes.
You did In the Heights.
Yes.
That's
Oh.
pretty modern.
Okay, let's talk
Not
about
only is
that.
it modern, but it's like 90s. It's not even modern. Oh, gosh. Hate to admit it, but that's not modern anymore, I
No,
guess. But but it's fun, though.
Yeah.
You know, that also reminds me of like costuming Usnavi in that show, for instance. There's kind of a particular look that is set for Usnavi. Now, I was thinking about this earlier about when you have the challenge of doing shows where people have expectations about the costume. For instance, specifically something like A Christmas Story.
Okay. Yes.
You have the pink bunny outfit
Right.
that everybody's like, I am waiting to see that outfit.
Yes.
I'm waiting to see Randy's jacket that he gets stuck
course.
in.
Mhm.
These visuals that people have
Yes.
been watching this cult classic for years. You finally have the thrill of making it real for them.
Right.
But it's gotta be a little nerve-wracking, right?
There is some expectations of that, and research comes into that. It's really important that I spend time researching a show. I don't just show up to a show and start pulling clothes and magically they all come together. My process is extensive of what I do. I research past shows. I research the shows Grace has done or Lauren has done to see how they've done it before, because that's what's going to be in their head, and I need to be on the same page with them with that. I also do a color scheme for every show. What a color scheme is.
Okay. Wow. I love we're getting into your mind
My
now. I
details
love
a
it.
little bit. So I take a piece of paper and I fold it up, and then you have the little squares. I unfold it all up. In each square, I put a color, and I use markers or crayons or colored pencils, and those are the colors I'm going to use for that show. So when I pull costumes, I'm only pulling costumes that go within this color scheme.
So, like, how do you pick the color scheme? You just go with the vibe of the show? Is it like...
Okay, let's take one that just happened.
Okay.
Okay, Anastasia.
Okay. Ooh, let's compare Anastasia to Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, guy. Okay.
Let's just the
Okay.
color schemes for that.
Okay.
Anastasia.
Well, Anastasia had multiple color palettes. So for St. Petersburg, all my colors were browns, darks, grays. There was pops of red to represent Russia, but it was very dark colors. Then I did another color scheme for the same show for Paris, and it was blues, purples, a little bit of yellow, but there was no red, no pink, nothing that came close to those colors that were in St. Petersburg. So you have two very different images.
Interesting. And then, yeah, because the Gleb scenes were kind of like a darker tone. He had a gray jacket on.
Yes.
It was...
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. So then if we compare that to Little Shop, my Little Shop palette had a lot of black and red and green.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And then my urchins had a different color palette than the rest of the actors. And so if you'll notice, their clothes were very bright and they had plaids and but they had 4 colors really that they wore, and they all had
Did that
these
depend
colors.
on like, because they broke the fourth wall. They were the only ones that broke the fourth wall. So did that have something to do with it?
That did. You picked it up. Yay. Yes, that's exactly it.
Awesome.
Do you love this? You
I
this.
love this. Okay.
You want another one? Want one more?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, here's one more. Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
Color
on the
was a huge part of that show. Huge.
Okay.
So the ensemble represent the disciples of Jesus Christ. And then there's also the apostles. And all of them wore similar color scheme. So I did a color palette and it had like kind of a purple gray, a lot of tans, browns, gray colors, and then a rust color, kind of like an orangey rust. All of them had that color. The only people in the show who had any red was Mary. And do you know who the other one was? It was Judas. He wore red too. They're the only 2 who wore red the entire show. And they always had red on. And that's a part of the sins that they were holding on to. That's symbolic of their past and their future, where they were heading.
Wow. I mean, people don't realize you're telling you're helping really tell the story.
I'm really trying.
Yeah. And it's such a subliminal thing that it's like you move people and they have no idea. You know, they don't know why they're connecting these dots, but you would definitely help connect the dots. But that's a lot of pre-planning, you know?
Yes.
What goes in, you sit with these directors for hours, getting their vision, getting inside their head, and then you take your own time to come up with your own plan based off of their plan, because it's a big collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And, you know, not only that, but there's a whole lighting color scheme that goes into it.
That's a huge part of it.
Do you ever see the lights and go,
we have a
changes the
problem here. That's not going to look like that color. When
See,
they get on
everything
stage.
has to mesh. I don't
Yes.
think people understand the cohesiveness that needs to happen.
Right. And part of that is, and this is no actor's fault. You are concerned about how you look. And you have to be. You're looking at what you're wearing, how you feel in it, what your character is doing, how you're presenting your character. So someone will come to me and say, I want to wear these shoes, or I want to wear this piece of jewelry. And they'll ask me, you know, and I'm looking at the whole show. So a cast member might say, well, I want to wear these shoes. And I'll say, I'm sorry, you can't. And they'll be like, well, why? You know, in their head, maybe not say it out loud. And maybe they do ask me why. And I get a chance to explain to them.
But I feel like it's probably not that often that you even have a chance to explain. You don't have the time, especially during that tech week.
No.
Where, you know, you're costuming an entire show, unless it's something like Spelling Bee where you only have like 11 people.
Which was
and
so
that's
fun.
it. But yeah, if you have a cast of 40 to 50 people,
Yeah.
that's insane. You know, I always go into the first dress rehearsal doing everything I can to not bother the costumer to like figure it all out, and then maybe bother them, you know, the next night. But
Is that
I know
what you think you do?
That's what I think I do. That's what I think I do. Oh man, I don't even want to know.
That's okay. I got a story about you later.
Oh no. Okay.
But no, there really is a lot that goes into it. And it's okay that actors in the moment can't see the whole picture. They're not supposed to. I'm the one sitting out there with the director looking at the whole visual aspect.
And it's up to the director to make sure
Yes.
that your color scheme and the lighting color scheme, you know, with Mel or whoever's.
Yeah.
It's always Mel.
It's
I was gonna
Mel.
say, whoever's
Let's just say
wife
it's
is
Mel.
Shout out to Mel.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's up to the director to have that combined effort.
Right. And our directors each have a different approach to the way they do a show. I get to work with all 3 directors.
Which is pretty cool. And we've talked about on this show how different the directors are.
Yeah.
And what a blessing that really is for our audience, because they get such a variety of different taste.
And
there is Jessica throughout it all. Going, I'm here.
One to the
I
next.
can, whatever you need, I got you. I love it. That's
we
awesome.
need to also remember, though, that Grace this is her production. It's her name on it.
Yeah.
And the buck stops with her. And there is times where the director and I have worked on something in a costume, and she comes to dress rehearsal and she's like, that's not the way I've seen it. That's not the way I want it presented on my stage. And we're not talking about anything crazy or inappropriate. We're just saying that needs to be different. This would enhance the show. This is what people are expecting.
Well, nobody has the experience like Grace does.
No.
So she comes in and like she always sees something that literally nobody else can see, and that's why she does what she does.
Yes. And I'm grateful I get to be part of that and I get to be part of that team. We have to put our egos aside or put aside our preconceived notions. And sometimes that's hard when you worked really hard on something. You worked on it for a long period of time or a lot of energy and time into it. But that's theater.
Yeah, it happens.
It's reality.
I've worked for weeks on a character that Grace was like, oh, by the way, I'd like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, just start all over.
Like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. So I mean, for what I do, that's such a small. You're literally having to redo costumes. I'm not trying to compare our roles at all.
No, it's okay. But that's the reality of it is, okay, here we go. Time to change that. And the more I can be moldable and willing to work with directors, the better it goes. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. We're human beings with lives. We have other things going on. And there's times where we have to stop and check ourselves. I have to stop and check myself and go, have I set my ego aside? Have I set aside what I thought was best? And can I trust the people I work with?
Yeah.
Just like I want people to trust me with their costume.
Is there ever a time where you're so set on a vision and it's a struggle to let it go?
Why are you so mean asking me this question?
Well, because I know, like I said, I don't think it's as tough on the actor side, but I mean, it's kind of.
Yes. I've heard it said, and I take this as a compliment, that I have a vision. I have a way I see things. And once I lock into that vision, I go full 100% in that direction. So there is times where I've had to really humble myself. But I also want to point out that our directors are really good at listening to their tech crew. I mean, phenomenally so, exceptionally so, unlike other places. So, for example, I'll give a specific. In Annie, there was a character who was a street sweeper. Okay, just a street sweeper. And Grace mentioned, I don't know if I like that costume. And we need to look at that. But we were in the middle of New York scene. And so I wrote it in my notes. And I kind of sat there. And I did have a moment where I stewed. And I was like, wait a second. Why the street sweeper? You know, why is this a thing? And I went back and I looked at my research on it, and I was like, that looks exactly like what I looked up for the correct time period of a street sweeper. And so once that scene was over and there was a break in rehearsal, I could turn to Grace and I said, hey, what is it about the street sweeper you need me to change? And she was great. She's like, I don't know. Like, is this correct? And it was not a big deal. It was just, we need to look at that. So I showed her my research and she was like, oh, that looks just like a street sweeper.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yes.
You know, like, so she does listen, and all of them, all three directors do value their tech.
Yeah.
And the
that
expertise we bring.
That trust is important. And I know Grace is very good about kind of, a certain level of authenticity when it comes to costuming or props and stuff like that.
Definitely. Yes. And I think that's, that makes me feel validated, and I appreciate that that she puts that much energy into something I love too, so we could work together really well in that way.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So what's been some of your favorite projects to work on at Grace Arts?
Oh, some of my favorites.
Because you've done things from Newsies, Guys and Dolls, A Christmas Story, to Madagascar, Finding Nemo. Not even looking at the numbers. Obviously, costuming 50 kids for Finding Nemo is more difficult than, costuming half the cast. But so not even looking at the numbers, just
Okay.
the costume design. It's got to be fun to do stuff like Madagascar and Finding Nemo. What level of creativity do you get to put into that? Do you get rented costumes for something like that?
Really good question. We do rent costumes for some of our shows. One of the things that I've done as I've come in and my approach is we have an amazing inventory already here. It's a little bit disorganized, and it's going to take years to continue to organize that.
It's been 2 years already.
I've been working.
Every time I come in here, I feel like you're always moving costumes and organizing. It's a huge job. Well, it's got to be tough because you're always costuming a new show too.
Yes, always costuming.
It's like
a
cleaning
show.
your room as you're still making the mess.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. That's a good description of that. So we do rent certain pieces that we don't have, but I find a lot of joy in finding and altering and creating. And so I would say right now we rent about 1 to 2 full shows. And those are shows where they're so specific and then we don't have those specific costumes. Now, sometimes the contract also states with the company I rent for that I can't rent specific things unless I rent the entire show.
Okay.
And so we have to budget that and we have to look at that and go, okay, do we want to rent this whole show, or is it going to cost so much to buy these few things or make these few things?
Right.
And do I have time to do that? The turnaround, we've talked about that on Miss Q.
Right.
The turnaround's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question about that creativity, I'm given a lot of opportunity to be creative. I mean, I'm doing 12 shows, right?
Yeah.
I have plenty of time to be creative. So it's okay for every now and then for us to go, we're going to rent this show, or we're going to rent a big portion of this
Is
show.
it sometimes a little bit of a relief for you, or the alterations or something like that, or not make it worth it? Or
It really depends. I would love to say it is a relief, but sometimes it's just so much work.
because you're dealing with an outsourced
Yes.
company.
Yeah, and they're fantastic. The company we use is Theater Company, which is out of Upland, and Grace has worked with them for a very long time, and they're so good to us. I have a specific designer for each show that I work with who communicates with me, and we communicate regularly.
Oh, that's great. So you've built a relationship with that's awesome. Okay. And that's the other thing about building relationships is that you've gotten to know each
Yes.
director over the years. So you it's kind of like explaining in shorthand to you, I'm sure, because Grace, it's like when she takes notes and she's like, I don't know what this says,
Oh,
and people are like, oh yeah, but I mean, so she can probably spout something off to you at this point,
I think so. I think we're like, that's part of working together. I have not done as many shows with Grace as some of our other tech folks.
Me neither. You know what? I haven't been directed by Grace for a few years. I'm sorry.
Come
I just want
on.
to bring that up. Producers,
You put that
looking
out
at me.
there.
You know what? I'm just saying. Anyway,
So-
sorry, I made it about me for a second.
Well,
Well,
imagine that.
It took how long? Oh my gosh.
Good job. Oh, for the love. So let's talk. Let me bring you back. Let's talk about those 3 directors. Can we?
Yeah.
Because I get to work with all 3.
Yes, actually, I had written down. How are these directors to work with, and do you have a favorite?
Oh, well, no. Okay, you're mean.
Well, I already know your answer is going to be Grace because any sane person would say Grace. But go on. Go on with what you're reading. I'm sorry.
So all 3 have strengths that they bring, and it's very different. And I'm talking about from a tech point of view. I know you guys know that from actors' point of view, but also from the tech point of view. So let's talk about just from costuming. With Jason, he is very hands-off with the costuming. And part of that is because he brings so much to the acting and the music and what he's doing with his actors. A big part of that is Jason and I have a relationship of trust that's been built for a long time. I knew Jason way before I ever came here. He and my husband and I have all been friends for years and years and years. And so he will say to me, I know you've got this. Whatever you want to do with this, will be great. I bring him ideas and he's like, oh yeah, that's it. Thank you. Great. And And we work really well that way. Work really well with him letting me have that space to do what I need.
Well, I knew he was like that with his actors because I've worked under him as a director, but to know that he's like that just across the board with all the departments and everything that goes into it, yeah.
It's a really cool way to be directed. And that trust allows you to grow and develop a show together, even in a short amount of time, which is the crazy part. We'll contrast that with Lauren. Lauren loves costuming. She's so good at it. She loves clothing. She loves the visual. She even has her own costume collection of vintage things on her own, in her own life, right? So for her, costuming is a really important part of her vision. And she knows certain costumes she wants, like a specific dress that she'll ask me to find. She knows it's there somewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know it's there somewhere.
Where?
Yeah.
But I'm learning and I'm working on that and organizing things so that we can find things better.
Right.
But anyways, that's a whole
We need a
story.
conveyor belt. If anybody ever wants to help us expand this and throw a conveyor belt for the costumes, that'd be great.
Oh, there's so much. But we have great inventory. And so when she says, I know this is somewhere, how wonderful it is that we have that. I just need to go find it. And usually it's where it's supposed to be. And every now and then it's not. And then we find it. And then I label it for next time, right?
Yeah.
But she's very hands-on with the visual component. I want to tell a story about that. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, so Footloose. There's an opening scene in Footloose, and she's like, I'm thinking...
This must have been one of your first shows.
It's way in that beginning part. And she's like, I have a vision for this opening scene. And she's like, it's a street in like Chicago, New York, like a big city, 80s wear, very street wear. And I'm like, okay, I'm on it. So I pull a bunch of cuts for the whole ensemble cast, which was huge. So I pull all these things, I'm putting them on them, and she comes to my costume fittings because we work well together like that. And she's like, Jessica, this is not at all what I was thinking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've messed up. I've really messed up. And she was so good to me. She was like, okay, we stepped aside, and she goes, I was thinking of like a club scene, which is very different than a street scene. I had like construction workers. Like I was talking like on the street.
Wow.
Like
She's like on the street waiting to get in the club.
Yes. Very different visuals.
Yeah.
And we were able to collaborate really well. We pulled new costumes.
Communication is key just in life in general. And this is the perfect example.
And I learned from that to ask specifics. What does a street scene mean to you? Okay. And then she'll describe it to me. I'll be like, oh, okay. You mean the club scene waiting to go in.
Right. Because if Grace were to say street scene or Jason were to say street scene, they probably all have different visions, like you said.
Way.
So,
yeah. So, and then Grace, the way she costumes has a lot to do with her vast history. She's done these shows before. She knows what she
Is there any
has.
pressure when it comes to Grace? Because like there's some shows where it's like, oh, this is the 5th time I'm doing this.
I think there is.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think there really is. I think there's pressure across the board in that.
I just think you carry yourself with such confidence and such esteem around that theater that people forget that you're under pressure yourself and that you have an expectation that you're striving to live up to while you're frantically running around trying to get all the costumes.
You mean we're
together.
real people?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
We are. We're real people. And Grace and I have a really good relationship that I feel like has just grown so much. And I really admire the just the scope of what Grace has done here.
Yeah.
And the fact that she lets me get to be part of it. Oh my gosh. This is truly a dream come true for me to be able to run this costume department here. So when I costume with her, I'm looking at what it is that she's already done and what she knows and what I can bring to add to that. And so there's a lot of communication.
Because she's probably evolved herself and the time since she's done that production again. So
Yes.
she learns something new every time.
Right. And she enjoys the way I costume. She's communicated that to me. So I know I can try some different things. They don't always work. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
That's the most important thing, is having that comfortability to be able to fail, basically.
Yes. Exactly. And what we learn from failing. And that's okay. That's part of the whole adventure. Grace likes to make changes once she sees it on the stage altogether.
Yeah.
Which is very different than the other two directors for me as a costumer.
Yeah, she's very visual. She's very about what does the picture look like.
Yeah. So we'll get to dress rehearsal and she'll make a change and I'll be like, okay, can I do that? One, do I have time to do that? And sometimes it's okay to say as a tech person, to say to your director, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to do the best I can
Yeah.
by doing this. It might not be exactly what she wants, but we're going to get as close as we can. And that's part of that tech relationship of you have to trust your tech people that they might not be able to accomplish what it is you want.
Yes. Yeah.
But they can sure try.
And I think you built up that trust, and everybody basically, that if you say that, it means that like you mean it.
Yes.
So and they take you at your word, and they trust you because they've seen what you can do, and they've seen you pull off some impossible stuff.
I hope so. I feel like that's a culture I've really tried to establish here, especially with our youth. And you know, I'm not going to say that because adults are just as vulnerable. That's not fair. Everyone
I think
is.
the adults are more difficult sometimes. Let's be honest. But anyway.
But you know, you're in a vulnerable state when you come to costume. That's the truth of it. And I need to respect that. And I really try to create that environment of what is best for them to feel comfortable as I'm taking measurements. I'm touching their body. I'm putting clothes on their body that have sensory moments or might not work for the movements they know they have to do. I have to be able to listen to the cast members and what they're sharing with me, but I also have to be firm.
Yes. I'm sure there are times where you present a costume when they're like, oh, by the way, I have to do this big dance move.
Like,
I don't know.
what?
And she's like, yeah.
You're going to do what in that
Yeah.
costume?
Cool. Then you're like, you make a note of it. Okay, let me talk to the director. And
See what we can do.
yeah, because sometimes, I mean, changes happen in rehearsals, the choreography and stuff like that may affect costuming.
Of course.
And that's the other thing, is the smallest change in the rehearsal space
Yes.
may not get communicated to you, and it could affect you.
It can. And I feel like our stage managers do a good job of that. And our directors really empower their cast members to say, okay, now let Jessica know. So that they can contact me and be like, or they can grab me because I'm around.
Yeah, well, you make yourself definitely available to help with any costuming issue, not only before the show, but during the run of the show. You always make it a point to let everybody know, if you need anything, let me know. I've texted you like before the last scene of a show and been like, oh, by the way, before I forget,
Yes.
this needs fixed or whatever. And then I come the next day and it's fixed. So
Hopefully. That's
yeah,
the plan.
yeah, you're always on top of it. But it's kind of an honor system where it's like they need to first reach out to you, and you can only do so much. You're not an empath or.
Well, there's one person, and that's what I say. It's one of me in a cast of 50, maybe a cast of 20. If each cast member is doing their part, of communicating and working with their costume, then I can do that.
Yeah.
I can't go to each cast member and be like, hey, what do you need today? How are you feeling today? What can I might have moments like that.
I know there's been a couple times where I'm like, oh, I forgot to text Jessica.
It happens.
And then I'm like, oh, by the way.
It happens, and it does. And the strictness of how we operate costuming can translate to some fear and anxiety of, oh my goodness, I have to tell Jessica I ripped this.
Right. I mean,
That's real. That's real.
I mean, you're intimidating to some adults. You can only imagine the children. You can only imagine the fear of these children.
I'm a really nice person.
No, you are.
I
You are.
swear.
But it's just a matter of, like, especially with a lot of these theater kids, like you said, how disciplined
Yes.
a lot of them
Yeah.
are. So for them, if something's their fault, especially, it's that like, oh my gosh, I have to go
Yeah.
faced. It's more disappointment from you.
It
that,
is.
that I feel
What?
more than your wrath. I'm like, oh my gosh.
When you don't show up to a costume fitting? What?
Okay, first of all, that only
miscue? Does that count as a miscue when you don't show up to your costume fitting?
That was only like 4 times.
Yeah.
I'll never forget during Elf.
Oh my god.
When I missed my costuming.
Oh.
And I showed up to the run through, and I was sitting in there, and you passed by and you were hanging something up, and we locked eyes, and it was the most uncomfortable thing.
I gave him the mom look.
Yes.
The full on.
I was like,
The weight of the mom
I couldn't even
look.
look down. I couldn't even look away. Searing my soul.
Okay, I can be nicer. Obviously. Obviously, I need to work on this.
Well, it's
some
different.
self-reflection. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I think our listeners know how I can be and how difficult I am.
Yes. Yes, you are. No. Perfect honesty on this. There is those moments where it's important for the cast member to really feel safe. I had a situation where I had just recently in Annie, I had a cast member whose dress, the zipper got stuck. And that's not a comfortable situation to be stuck in your dress and the zipper causing issues. And I took the cast member to the trailer, so there was some privacy. And the cast member started crying and had a real emotional moment, and it had nothing to do with the stuck zipper. It was just something in their life, something going on, just the weight of it, maybe the anxiety of performing, whatever it was. And they had a moment where they just needed to be able to be vulnerable. And as they cried, and I'm taking care of the zipper behind them, I was able to rub their back and tell them they're okay and that we're going to take care of this, and come up with a solution for them. And then afterwards, after we got the zipper off and changed clothes, that I could just hug her and hold her for a minute and let her know she was okay and that she could do this. And I felt really privileged that I had that opportunity to be in that vulnerable space where someone could trust me to share that they were having a hard time. And the act of just getting that zipper unstuck and getting a new dress on and making sure that they looked gorgeous. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. And making them have that moment to feel that confidence and then to be able to go on and whatever they were facing in their life, to know at least in that moment, someone cared about them enough to stop and say, it's okay, you got this. We all need those moments, right?
Yeah.
And I get to do that with the vulnerability of costuming, to be able to have some special moments. Such as one example. There's been many where I get to have those really sweet moments.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, wow. Sounds like you really made a difference.
You're not going to cry on me, are you?
No,
okay?
no, I'm gathering myself right now. Give me a second. Wow. So, are there any? Is there any sort of style or anything that you haven't been able to do? Any shows that you're like? Have there been any shows? Because titles of shows get tossed around before the announcement of official seasons. So, is there any shows that haven't been done that have been kind of possible that you've been like, oh my gosh, please do that because I'd love to do that?
Yes. I would say more the reverse. Like, please don't make me do that right now.
Oh, really?
Please,
Okay,
please,
all right.
Please. That's a huge show. Give me a moment.
Not two of those back to back.
Yes,
no.
yes. Oh my gosh. No, that's the truth, for real. But there is some shows that I've been able to be really excited about that we've done. And there's some shows that have been on the table where I'm like, someday, I really hope that happens. Mm-hmm. I think for most of us, Les Miserables is on the list for everyone.
Like, yeah, every department.
Actors, sound, lighting, stage crew, everyone.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Audience.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Come on, we're ready for Les Mis.
Well, poor Grace. It's not her fault.
No, I know. I just think about I just know how many actors would be excited for Les Mis.
Yeah.
And it would be just, everybody would come out to
Yes.
be in that. And it would be an amazing, I
hope-
think, a star-studded cast, so to speak.
Incredible. I hope our listeners and your listeners, I said our listeners. Yay. I hope your listeners understand that there's so much that goes into picking a show. And a lot of it has to do with royalties and rights and timing and what we can be given. And Grace has had to fight for some shows and to prove just recently she had to explain the seating for Greece and how much what the ticket sales would be for Greece and be able to explain that. So it's not just our heart's desire.
Yeah. But so you really love that. That just goes to show that you really love the period pieces.
You want another one?
Yeah.
I want to do Rent so bad.
Really?
Oh, I want a costume Rent so bad.
Really? Why?
I love Rent. It's one of my favorite musicals.
Okay.
I know you wouldn't think that of Miss Jessica, I love Rent, and my kids know it. And
that's
we know
awesome.
the music, and we rock out. And I love Rent. I would love an opportunity. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. It's another one.
Oh my gosh, you were all over the map right now.
Oh, I am.
Classic,
yes.
modern. I love it. That's great. But I think that's what makes you really good at your job.
Thank you.
Because you have that appreciation for all different genres, all different cultures.
Yeah.
You're very adaptable, and you do your research with the respect to the source material.
Thank you. I really try. I think that's a really important part of being an effective costumer. So, but
Because you're telling the story too.
I am. I'm part of that. I'm the visual part.
Clearly, I mean, honestly, just the way I loved how you were talking about the color schemes.
Oh my God.
That really, because as a videographer and as a video editor, I know color schemes are important.
Yeah.
I've
got a good one on my high school theater. I'll give her credit for this director. She's the one who told us this in tech theater. Without tech theater, the actor would be in a field, alone, in the dark, naked, with nothing to do.
Yeah.
No one wants to be in a field naked. That's where I come in. I'll make sure you got clothes on.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you look good.
Wow. Oh my gosh. No, you've always, I think you've been great to work with. And, you and I have had our ups and downs.
Oh,
but no,
what?
no. I think you did Shrek, right? But you did the junior version, or?
I have not done Shrek.
You've not done Shrek?
No.
How would you feel about doing Shrek?
That's a big one.
That is a big one.
That is a big one.
Well, and that's a big one that, like we said, we talked about iconic costumes and expectations people have.
Yeah, and a lot of the Disney shows, I know Shrek isn't Disney, but a lot of Disney shows are like that too. There's an iconic look.
Is there like, so if you do a Disney show, let's say, licensing and everything, I'm from what I understand, Disney is pretty strict when it comes to their productions and how they're put on. I know licensing is a big deal, and royalties as far as not adding any lines or songs or taking away anything like that. So how does that affect costuming?
And I think that's a big part of it too. It has to be authentic to the original stories.
Are there any like hardcore rules?
I haven't experienced anything of that, mostly because my directors are already going that direction.
Right.
And they're very good at knowing when and what to do. So I haven't experienced that on my end.
They're kind of like your defenders. And
yes.
like, you're not going to have any legal issues because we're going to take care of it.
We are your first defense here.
Oh, that's awesome.
But more the restrictions would be on the any rentals. Can't alter them, or I can't change it.
That was another thing that kind of blew my mind. Anastasia, you had some rental pieces.
Yeah,
correct?
Just a handful of them.
Handful of them.
Yeah.
So what is the process like? You're not allowed to make alterations. So let's say something, God forbid, the company sends you something that don't match your measurements that you sent, or something like that. So how does that? Is it just simply mailing it back? And
there's different processes for that. Okay, so there's a difference between alterations and repairs. Let's make sure that's clear. So repairs I can do. Something rips, something busts, breaks, I can fix what the repair. But as for the alterations, I have, like I said, I have a very good communication with my companies that I rent from, and there's a couple of them I use. So I always communicate with them. Hey, this happened. Can I alter this? How would you like me to alter it? Because there's different sewing techniques too. And I need to make sure I'm doing it the way they want it done. Because there's trust built with Grace Arts Live, because we have a reputation, a good reputation.
Yep.
I'm usually given a lot of leeway in like, okay, go ahead and fix that.
Because they know they've seen you, they've worked with you before. They know you're not gonna.
Right. I'm not gonna ruin the costume of that. And there has been a few times where I've gotten back please leave the costume alone. Please don't make any alterations. Contact us if it's mandatory. I take measurements a lot, you notice, because people's bodies change, and that's part of being human. We have these amazing bodies.
I'm sure you've had those times where like you have an actor who gets cast in a role and they're like, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds right now as fast as I can or whatever. And it's like, so do you ever have that like dress rehearsal comes and you're like, oh, you're thinner than I measured you for? That's an issue.
I haven't had any major problems with that. And I think a big thing is we need to recognize their bodies are incredible. We have these incredible bodies for a reason, and be able to perform with the body you have and be comfortable in the body you have. So you might need to lose some weight for health reasons, but don't lose weight to change to a costume. You are casted, and have confidence in your beautiful body the way it is. And have confidence that your costumer is going to help you accentuate that within the parameters they can. I had a situation. I won't tell you the person's name, but I'll tell you the show. It was Carousel. And Grace and I were sitting there, and she's like, this cast member is just way too pretty. Is there a way you can make her look ugly? I was like, what? She's like, she just stands out. She's supposed to like blend in. We got to make her uglier. So I tried something. I tried a wig, and she was like, that's not enough. We gotta, like, she's still standing out. She's just too pretty. So we started adding different components to change her physical appearance so she'd blend in more. Then later on in the show, she has a part where she comes out in her full, beautiful, gorgeous self. But up to that point, she had to trust me that there was a reason why I was hiding her or making her clothes baggier or putting more shawls on the poor thing.
Right.
Trying to hide who that person was because she just stood out too much. So sometimes you have to be made ugly.
Yeah.
Or you have to be made to hide.
But that's where the trust comes in. That's where the trust comes in. And I think you've spent years building that trust. And I think a lot of the seasoned actors at Grace Arts trust you and your process.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I know I do.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have a really neat experience with the connection I have with the people. Some of these people I knew before I became part of Grace Arts. Lee White, he's known my kids since they were babies,
Yeah, Teacher of the Year. Teacher of the Year, Lee White.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Lee's been part of my family for a really long time. He coached with Dan years ago, and I've known him almost 18 years. I think 18 years. So when I have to costume him, this is my friend I'm costuming, right? I got to costume my dad. How special is that? And I know you know how special that is to do theater with your parent.
Yeah.
My dad, the last time he did a show was when I was I think I was just a little baby. He was in Fiddler on the Roof. And then life happens, and you get busy raising kids and jobs and life, and he'd been in choirs and so forth, but he decided to come out and audition for Grace Arts. He doesn't live here in Havasu, but he came out. He wanted to do something that his grandkids love. He wanted to be part of that. And he wanted to bond with me. I'm his daughter. I'm a grown woman, but I still have that connection with my dad, right? We still get that. So I got to costume him in Jesus Christ Superstar, where he played Caiaphas, and killed it.
It's so funny. Yeah, your dad came on the scene, and it was like,
who is this guy?
Who is this talented guy? Where has he been? It's like, oh, that's Jessica's dad. I'm like, what?
Yes. Yeah. And then he did Peter Pan, and then he just did Annie at Daddy Warbucks. And that is such a special moment to be able to costume your father in something that he is being very vulnerable in and learning this community who's welcomed him, but also to go out and do something that is hard. I mean, it's hard to memorize all those lines.
And even and actually connecting that to costuming iconic shows.
Yeah.
What comes to mind for Annie is him in the tuxedo and Annie in the red dress.
I know.
What a great number.
I cried
Together
every time.
At Last.
Oh,
it was
every
so
time.
good.
Every time. They're amazing. And of course, my children are in the shows, and getting to costume them and with them is such a special opportunity. And you know that as well as being able to work with your son.
Yeah.
But this community is multi-generational. It's family oriented. It's all these good things that are praiseworthy and a good report and a value in our society now, where families are working together and spending time together. We put our phones away. We do not have our cell phones out. We aren't busy working on other things. We're creating something together and getting to spend time together. So that's a big part of what's so special about this for me and with costuming.
That's awesome. I love that. Are there any significant stories, any problematic actors that you want to share a story about?
Well, I have a few stories I could share. Yes.
You could tell me their names, and I'd tell you if we have permission to
I'm not using names. Are you kidding me? I do have a top 10 memorable moments.
Okay, yes.
Do you want that?
Yes, okay. All right. Jessica,
do you want this?
Give us your top 10 most memorable moments.
This will lead very well into what you were just asking.
Okay.
Okay, in order, starting with the bottom 10. This one has to do with you, Ricky.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so Wizard of Oz. I was assisting on this one. And it was the first time I really had the moment of empowerment that, I could costume this. I could do this. I was doing the Munchkins and I was doing the Poppies. Those were the two areas I was costuming fully on my own. With help. I always have help. I want to make that clear. I have great people who are willing to sew and help with seamstresses and tailors. But this was chaotic. It was full chaos. We were at the theater. It was Tech Week, aka Hell Week. And we were just now trying costumes on. Now, this doesn't happen very much anymore. We've kind of moved on to a different type of organization. But at that time, and this happens, we were doing all the costuming right then, right before dress rehearsal, the day before. And we get out all the main costumes, and the costume director at the time was putting on the lion's costume and working on that and getting it all ready. And I saw Ricky standing there, and he was playing the Tin Man. And I was like, well, I can help him get the pieces together. So he's got his unitard on, right? You remember that unitard?
Yeah, I remember.
The silver unitard and all these pieces that have to clip on. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And so I started clipping all these pieces on. We get to an important piece that is required to cover what needs to be covered. And it's not working, right? It was not working. No. He's dying.
It was not.
Are you blushing? I think you're blushing. This piece was not working. And I'm like, what the world am I going to do? And I don't know you that well at this point. And I'm all up in your business trying to manipulate and try to make things work. And finally I get this idea. I'm like, all right. And you trusted me. You didn't know me very well, but you trusted me.
I have faith in the costume department.
You do. And you're a good example of that. Because I took that piece and I turned it around backwards.
Yeah.
And it worked. And it was much better. And we added some other things to make the costume work. But that's my number 10 moment of the unique Tin Man. There's no shame in theater or costuming. We just got to go for it, right? Okay, number 9. You doing okay over there?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Okay. What's number 9?
It's like, please move on to number 9. Okay, number 9 was Guys and Dolls. And one of the ensemble girls, her zipper ripped out on stage. We use a lot of vintage stuff, and zippers are the first thing to go. And I have to replace zippers. That's a normal thing. Mm-hmm. But it ripped out during a show. And so she comes backstage, and she's like, what am I going to do? And she had to go back on stage. So I sewed her into the dress. So I took a needle and thread and just sewed up the back of it, and she ran on stage.
Oh, she was stuck in it.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Nope. No, you're right. She was stuck in it. And so then she comes off and she has to change into her next costume. And she's like,
rip it.
Yep. So I cut it open, ripped it open, and she put on her next dress, and then I was able to fix that
Were
for
you
the next
just
show.
devastated having to
like-
rip it?
I'm like, oh my gosh, here
'Cause
we
you think
go.
on your feet, you can't think about
Nope, you just
the
never do.
aftermath. You
Yeah.
deal with it later.
And we were able to salvage the dress, but it was like, okay, here we go. Just cut open and
Oh my gosh.
put on the next costume. So that was number 9. Okay, number 8 is another zipper story.
Okay.
Number 8 was Beauty and the Beast. And this is Beauty and the Beast Junior. And we had rented, we needed to rent some pieces, but this was one of those shows that they would only allow us to rent the whole show. We couldn't rent just pieces.
Okay.
So we were like, okay, we can do this. We can budget this. And we rented the entire show, which was exciting, but also a lot of work. Beautiful costumes. Oh my gosh, Ricky, beautiful costumes. But the final bell scene dress, the big, beautiful yellow
The
ball
iconic.
gown. Yes.
Oh.
We could not get the zipper to work, and it's a fast change. And Allie was backstage helping with Peyton with her bell dress. And she was like safety pinning, doing whatever she could just to get her back on stage. Well, it's a waltz scene. You see the back of the
Right.
dress. And we tried for a few those dress rehearsals to figure it out. Finally, I was like,
Well, that's a fast change, too.
yeah. I was like, forget this. So I ripped out the zipper and I contacted the company and I was like, this is what I've done. And they trusted me that I was going to do this correctly and gave me permission. So the zipper was gone. I put in a panel of fabric and then put in a huge heavy duty Velcro, like the real heavy duty stuff.
Nice.
And ta-da, we didn't have any more issues with getting the bell dress on. But that
You
was
gotta love Velcro.
that was a crazy moment though of like this gown, this
Yeah.
gorgeous gown, and I'm ripping out the zipper
Oh my
and
gosh.
yes. Okay, number 7, I could just say the words and everyone would know. Springtime for Hitler. Do I need to describe this, or can we just say
We could just say springtime for Hitler.
I can't even begin to describe how crazy and memorable that experience was. Springtime for Hitler. Look it up. Number 6 for me is the summer session. We didn't talk about summer sessions,
No.
but specifically Susical was my first summer session.
Okay.
So summer session is 3 workshops for the kids, the children in Lake Havasu. They do the same show 3 times and they do it super fast. Was it like 2 weeks they do it?
Yep.
Yeah. So when I costume a workshop, I'm pulling costumes knowing that I'm going to have 3 different casts that I don't know who they are. And I
Right.
have a day to be ready for costumes. So I get the cast list and then in 24 hours have to have costumes for them ready to try on. So I have to be really organized and well prepared with a lot of different costumes. And it is full chaos. I mean, it is crazy. And for Susical, the bird girls are a big fun part. And we have those costumes somewhere. We've done Susical before. I could not find those costumes for the life of me. I have 24 hours, remember?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find these for these specific girls. I had found some things prior, but anyways, I found the old costumes and they were falling apart from the heat. Heat is our enemy when it comes to costumes.
Yep.
Time and heat are our 2 enemies.
And it had probably been like 3 or 4 years since they had done the show and
I
used
think
those
it had to have been
costumes.
more. I mean, was it really only 3 or 4 years?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Pulling that right out of there. I don't know.
Well, it was some time ago. And it was an adult show when they did it, I think. I don't think it was a
They've
junior.
never done an adult version of Susan.
Okay,
They
so-
better not have done. I didn't know about it.
Because you want to be on
I
that.
want to be in it so
I know.
bad.
Okay, so it was another junior show. So anyways, I go down to Walmart and buy matching swimsuits and then add the feathers to the swimsuits to their sizes. All in
Thinking on your
24
feet, all in
hours.
24 hours.
Yes, it was insane. So that was number 6.
What a rush.
I think that's just summer session in general. I could tell you hours of stories about summer
I'm
session.
sure.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
We're at the halfway point.
Yes.
You still with me?
Number 5.
Number 5. Number 5 is Frozen. So there's a really
Another
cool scene.
iconic show.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And you can't mess that one up.
No.
No. So there's a really cool scene where Elsa's singing and her dress changes, right?
Yes.
On stage. And we do it on stage live.
Trapdoor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's done with magnets on the dress. And it is a phenomenal scene, but it takes so much effort on that actor's part and the person pulling the dress off with the magnets and the timing and the tech.
Was it nerve-wracking every
Night?
time?
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Every night I was like, oh, and that's one, I think I saw it every night because I was just like, is this going to work?
Is it going to work? Is the dress going to get ripped even if it does work?
Yes.
And there's so many factors.
Oh, so much in it. But every night it worked and the audience went nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, they just scream and cheer and they're shocked and the actress
and everybody's
so
expecting
powerful.
And they're like, oh, here's the moment.
She gonna do it.
And then she pulls it off and
Yes.
like, yeah.
And that was so much fun. And that started my love of magnets. We used them in Elf for your pajama scene, the rip away.
Yep.
But that scene is just so memorable. So that's my number 5. Number 4, you brought up In the Heights.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a general to In the Heights. So here in Lake Havasu, we had to fill some roles with non-Latino looking people. They maybe their heritage, maybe their ethnicity is Latino, but maybe that didn't come across fully in their visual features or and so we really had to be authentic to that show. And so when I did the costuming, it was so important that the costuming matched the colors, the feeling, the vibe, the sense of...
So you especially used costuming to accentuate all that.
Yes. They needed to see a Latino community. They needed to see that in these people and this lovely show that is so much fun. And they killed it. The actors were incredible.
There was a lot of vibrant colors in the set and the lighting. The whole show was vibrant.
All these bright colors. That color scheme, you would have loved it. It was like fire. It was so much. It was so cool. So that had to be my number 4 of just coming up with the ethnicity or the being authentic in the way I was costuming that, so that it really showed through appropriately in lights. Number 3 is Footloose. Garrett was playing our lead. He was a visiting actor. He kept ripping out the pants of his prom scene, those black dress pants.
Oh, for the final scene.
Yes. And we're not talking about just ripping them out. I mean, full on ripped the whole inside seam completely.
That's a big dance number.
It is. And I had gotten him some really nice pants at Dillard's. Grace was like, buy him something that looks really sharp. We want him to look really good. And he ripped them out. I mean, these were expensive pants. Ripped them out. So I took them back. They took them back. Dillard's did. So shout out to Dillard's.
Oh, wow.
Gave me another pair. Ripped those ones out. So I went to Goodwill and bought cheap black pants, like 80s material, like the stuff that's never gonna die.
Yeah, when they used to build things to last.
Which will probably destroy our environment too. So not the best materials, but
it worked for the show.
For the show, it worked. So, anyways, he was able to keep his pants intact, but the rip out of the pants in Footloose is a memorable moment.
Oh my gosh.
Number 2, you've already talked about on this show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You stole my thunder. But it was when Chris... Oh, I wasn't going to use names, but you already did. You already used names. When Chris lost his pants on stage playing Roosevelt. Luckily, it was dress rehearsal. Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Him coming down the stairs. And his pants drop all the way to his ankles. So we learned a valuable lesson. There is a box of suspenders in the men's dressing room, and everyone wears suspenders, right? How many times have I said that to you?
I love suspenders. I think everybody should wear suspenders when they're going on stage.
Wear a pair of suspenders.
Yeah.
So we refer to Chris's moments. I refer to that as a very memorable moment, and it's changed the way I've costumed. Let's make sure we don't lose pants anymore, right?
You know what? He's always revolutionizing the theater in one way or the other.
We love Chris.
So, we do love Chris.
Okay, you ready for top 1?
Yes.
Okay, not very many people know about this one. Beauty and the Beast. a cast member in the Beauty and the Beast got sick, and on stage, dress rehearsal, and vomited all over the stage, the backstage. But people were coming on stage, so they came in through the vomit, and the vomit
Did they know?
spread through an amazing amount of costumes until we get to the waltz scene, and our Beast and Belle are doing their final scene in the big, gorgeous bell gown. And this was the issue with the zipper.
Yeah.
So I run up on stage, just dress rehearsal, I can do this, to see if I can fix it really fast. And I'm like, why does it smell like vomit? Oh my gosh. And we look, and there's vomit all over the iconic gold rented gorgeous ball gown. I spent an enormous amount of time cleaning up vomit on costumes, and some of them had to be cleaned professionally, and some of them I had to just spend a lot of time getting the vomit out.
Never heard this story.
I know, because the poor person who was
It's in the
sick,
vault. Nobody's supposed to hear this.
No, my heart goes out to them. I'm sorry, I'm sharing this story. You probably never wanted anyone to know. They handled it like a trooper, and I'm sure it was super embarrassing, but there was vomit everywhere.
Oh my God.
Which is a costumer's nightmare. And so that is my number one memorable moment. Vomit.
Wow.
Beauty and the Beast and vomit.
That's incredible. I love that. Wow. Well, we've learned so much about you. Before we close out, I just feel like we should let everybody know that I hope people gained a certain amount of respect for the position that you hold in the theater, and how much goes into what you do, because you could just come in and throw some clothes on people and kind of just make it work, but you don't do that. You come in and you put your heart and soul into this, and it really shows, because you're performing through your costumes as everybody else is in their own way.
I sure try to.
Very much appreciate you, and thank you for everything you do in the theater. I think people should also remember to hang up their costumes. This is a general announcement.
Don't eat and drink in costume, please, right? And there's reasons for all that, right? And I hope that's what people
Yes.
get. Is there is a reason.
It's not just Jessica coming in and being like, "This is the way."
No, there's a reason. And and we have a unique situation with how fast we do these shows, right?
Right.
Cleaning up the trailers. My special costume assistant, who's my youngest daughter, Julia, has taken on the role of learning about costuming, and so she assists me in a lot of these shows. And one of the things she did that she knew she could help with is start helping cleaning up the trailers. And so you have a 13-year-old cleaning up after you. You can put away some stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I will say, shout out to Lee White. He's always kind of
gosh.
making sure all of the guys in there usually.
yes.
They're like, "Where's this trash?" He's walking around like.
I love Lee, and he, there's a lot of wonderful people in the theater who want to support me in the ways that they can, and some of that is by asking people to clean up or put their clothes on a hanger, or looking for ways to support tech theater, and that's what it's all about. Is all of us working together, supporting each other.
I'd love a missed cue story, but it's hard to say if you've ever missed a cue. Has there ever been a costume that needed to be fixed that you kind of, in the midst of your 75 changes, that you maybe went to go see a show and you went, "Oh my gosh, I forgot," like...
There's definitely miscues with costuming. Yes, there's moments where I've seen a show and been like, but I would say the biggest miscue, oh my gosh, we salvaged it, but was in Descendants. And Peyton had a really fast change, and she was playing Mal, and she changes into this ball gown. And at the time, this was right at the beginning, and I was kind of trying to do everything, right?
Yeah.
And so I was her dresser. I was the one changing her backstage.
You don't do that anymore.
I can't.
That's because you learn.
I can't.
You can only do so much.
No. Because the reality is, as one show is going, I'm already working on another show.
Right.
So right now, I'm working on 3 shows, right? I'm working on Spamalot, Grease,
and once Spamalot opens, then you're Grease.
Yeah, I'm already on to Grease, right? So
with already pre-planning for Legally Blonde.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's all overlapping. So I'm not really there for, like you were kind in saying I'm available, but they don't see me at every show like
Right.
I used to do.
Well, I mean, you're available in the sense of your numbers literally plastered on the wall with literally a note that says, call me.
Please call me. So anyways, back to Descendants. Peyton has this really fast change. And one night I was in the audience watching the show and we're getting close to that part. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing something. What am I supposed I'm supposed to be backstage changing her. So I jump out of my seat. Those poor people sitting around me because I ran as fast as I could around to the back of the theater. And I'm doing the change in the wing. So I'm running all the way in. I'm having to move people out of the way. And the person who's on stage actually was my daughter, poor thing. Emma is ad-libbing lines as Snow White as I'm backstage now trying to get this dress on Peyton as fast as possible because I was late. She had already started. And we got her on stage, and I don't know if the audience would have noticed anything, but it was my missed cue. It really was.
All right. So I'm glad we got a missed cue story. Yeah.
So embarrassing.
I'm glad your daughter helped save it.
Yeah. She did so good.
But it's those kind of things that really, I have so many moments like that were devastating, but it's like, that's the reason I don't do this anymore. That's the reason that I won't make this mistake anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the girls' trailer, I don't know if everyone knows this, but every show I have backup costumes in the trailer. So that when a zipper goes out, instead of...
See...
There's a costume in there.
I may cut this out. People don't need to know that. We're going to be reckless with oh, we have a backup. You know how people are.
No, please don't do that.
No. Well, again, thank you so much. We loved having you on here, and we're glad that you said yes to being on here. Really wanted to represent. I've been doing theater for over 20 years, so I've seen costumers, do so much. I've seen different techniques. I've seen different approaches. Everybody's brought their own sort of vibe to it.
So many talented people that I'm following in footsteps of incredible people, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So, and I feel like there's only a handful of people who truly appreciate what goes into not only just backstage in general, but to each department like yours. So I'm glad that we got a chance to shed some light on it. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Can I give one shout out before I get out of here?
Of course, absolutely.
I want to give a shout out to Ed. You guys might not know this, but a lot of Ed's clothes end up
Ed Jacobs.
Yes, this is Grace's husband. And so many of his clothes end up on stage. Anytime you see a police officer costume, that's Ed's. It's amazing. Yusnavi in the Heights.
Yes.
All of his shirts were Ed's.
I know. I was like, where did you get these shirts? He's like, dude, they're Ed's.
Yes.
It's awesome.
I love how Ed supports Grace. I think it's so beautiful.
I was like, where did all these 90s kind of clothes come from the Heights? Turns out
they're Ed's. And I so appreciate
Thank you so much for giving Ed a shout out. That's actually the first time he's been mentioned
he's
on this
amazing.
Podcast.
He does so much to support. And as a tech theater person, the tech people see him and recognize that he's there doing so much to help in those areas, those background areas.
Yeah.
I would say all of us tech directors would say Ed has supported us or helped us in some way. I really do believe that he's involved in that aspect of it. I just want people to know his clothes are up there.
Yeah, I love that.
We love Ed's style.
Yes, Ed's always with us up there. That's awesome. I love that. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And as we all know, until next time, there is no excuse for a missed or late cue.
And hang up your costumes.
This episode of The Missed Cue is brought to you by Anderson Auto and Power Sports, proudly serving Mojave County since 1999 with top-tier rides and hometown pride. Whether it's roads or waves, Anderson's got you covered. Follow The Missed Cue on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. And remember, there's no excuse for a missed or late cue.